Hello all, Rick here, and this is a Cultural Index episode looking at one of Star Trek's most notorious, nefarious and nasty nuisances, the Nausicaans. This video will draw from the primary content of the shows to build an image of this species, with additional content drawn from books and games to flesh out some details here and there, as in canon there is little confirmed information to go on, but much we can draw from speculation. The Nausicaans stand around 2 meters tall on average, with strong musculature and a robust physique. They generally are proud of their physicality and strength, which plays a large part in determining their place in society, as well as informing how they are often presented in the intergalactic stage. Their skin tones range from pale yellowish to greys and pastel browns, and all seem to have dark hair. Like Klingons, they have prominent brows made from bone, but also sport a pair of small tusks that erupt from their cheeks to create a pincer-like formation over their mouth, sometimes 2, sometimes 4 of them. Some even grow horns on their brow, but this was not all. Generally, the hair was worn loose and ungroomed. Their reputation as problematic, however, was due to their caustic temperament that saw them quickly turn to violence to solve problems. Insults directed their way are typically answered with death instantly in a fight, which they often had the inclination to incite anyway. It was considered strange by other Nausicaans if one of their own was too restrained or pragmatic, especially if they were not being paid to be. Despite their brutish reputation, they were rather cunning and seldom started a fight they weren't confident they would win. Dirty fighting, uneven odds, and literal backstabbing were not considered dishonourable actions among them if it helped them win. They idolise strength and power, but this comes in many forms, although most commonly in its raw state. Because of this temperament, they were frequently encountered as pirates and raiders. This brought individuals into conflict with several law enforcements of various species, but they often roamed around and operated from hidden outposts which they had established or commandeered, meaning they often evaded capture. Many too were adept at circumventing security systems and even jailbreaks, again showing there is an adept mind behind all the brawn. However, those not wanting the hassle of dealing with law enforcement were employed as mercenaries and bodyguards. Favoured by the Ferengi and the Orion Syndicate, their violent streak that borders on sadism generally meant that they were comfortable skirting the law, even in this profession lending them a fearsome reputation. First contact with them was made by Starfleet in 2151 by the NX-01, and surprise surprise, they were pirates. Their homeworld is Nausicaa, the third planet in the system of the same name and orbited by 3 moons. In memory beta content it was raised by the Borg in 2381, but this is not confirmed on screens. Nausicaa is predominantly formed of yellow rock and has a gravity of 0.7 g. It has 40% surface water, bound up not in oceans, but as large inland seas and lakes. Therefore, all land masses of the planet are connected. The planet's environment is rather varied, with one constant: the fierce winds that whip around its surface. The planet is densely forested around the equator, creating a tropical climate. Beyond this, the planet is mostly arid, mountainous and rocky, which is where the high winds blow with frequent storms. Heavy pollutants still linger in their climate from their industrial age, where they dealt irreparable damage to its ecosystem, and to this day acid rain is a common problem. Nausicaa has smooth ice caps, blasted by the winds, called the Great Silver Plains. In older times it was a practice that some would journey to the ice caps to seek enlightenment by surviving a 300-mile trip across its hazardous surface. They were forbidden to fight or aid one another on the plains during this time. The other native lifeforms, like the Nausicaans, are hardy omnivores by necessity, and many are endangered by constant Nausicaan hunting, leading to the survivors being as cunning as their predators. They're non-copyright infringing predators. There are many cities across the planet, such as Gdea, Girak Toa, Melvar, Kikala, Rektakma, Sandala, Sadara, and Rylon, through which interstellar commerce does flow. They do have a centralised government. However, due to their boisterous nature, it's always in a state of flux as individuals are ousted, killed, or fall out of favour rapidly. This turbulent nature makes it very difficult for other powers to establish any meaningful long-term relationship with them, and this is what allows for this rampant unchecked piracy to flourish. They do have a military, but many choose to break away and seek their own prizes as bounty hunters or mercenaries, as they are motivated by no small amount of sadism, greed, and thrill-seeking. However, they must have a dedicated shipyard as they do produce their own vessels. More on these in a minute. They maintain outposts in other systems, often apart from more civilized hubs of activity, such as on an asteroid in the Morrican system. They are often very territorial within their own space when it comes to resources, attacking any unauthorized interlopers with little warning. Their vessel design tends to have ships constructed vertically, which would be an issue for landing, surely, and share the same focus on power that they themselves do. They manufacture ships focused on overwhelming firepower and aggression, such as the Gurumba-class siege destroyer, the Colossi class, the Scourge and Ravager class dreadnoughts, the Vandal class and the Talon battleship. The technology at play on these vessels varies from loadouts of photon torpedoes, disruptor beams and plasma weaponry. Alongside this, vessels with Nausicaan captains, not just their official ships, often have other tricks up their sleeve. This diversity is likely a side effect from their looting through raids, prizes from their kills, or bartered goods. This reflects their pragmatic cunning of the species as they adapt whatever they can use to give themselves an edge in combat, just as they do in physical melee. When it comes to personal arms, they again often have a variety of plundered weaponry, but there is a use of a device called a Nausicaan warstaff. This is constructed out of salvaged components which are made from disassembled energy weapons. It can be used as a spear, club, and directed energy weapon, being around 2 meters long. It's unknown if this has a cultural origin, but it seems likely. When a young Nausicaan reaches the age of majority, they can join the military or choose their own path, effectively a coming of age. Despite their skirmish-focused mentality, they do have a religion they follow, called the Heart of the Sky. Being as the winds are a constantly shaping influence on their homeworld, they developed a belief in a pantheon of 4 gods called the 4 Winds. They construct temples to this religion and believe that upon death their Tigol, or soul, leaves the body and meets these gods, their friends and families in the afterlife of the Heart of the Sky. Culturally, they do enjoy games of various others, including gambling and tests of physical prowess. However, following a theme, cheating is considered part of the game for them, if they can get away with it, and if not, well then they can always start another fight. Games of their own devising include a dart throwing competition, where their opponent is the dartboard and the first to show signs of pain is the loser. Surprisingly, they do have their own arts, as seen in a form of opera called tusk opera. It's unclear as to how this works or why tusks are involved. Perhaps they resonate or click with the singing, but whatever the case, it actually has fans in many other species outside of Nausicaa, so it can't be as bad as you may expect. Nausicaan names included many that end in gar, although those that do not are a lot shorter. Savonagar, Tranagar, Krinagar, Kayak, Kroz and Goshi. In their language, Udari means coward and Gurumba means nerve, as in you don't have the nerve. It is also a slang term for their genitalia, meaning that Nausicaans are the only species I have come across that named a type of destroyer ship after their balls, because that's how the Nausicaans be. So there we have it, a fair amount of info on one of the most violently rambunctious species in Star Trek, and honestly more than I expected to find on a species that was coined to be that tough-looking background mercenary. It's easy to forget their conniving smarts when faced with their brute-like appearance, but it is present in every level of their culture. I was most surprised to discover a central religion and even the existence of their songcraft, showing that even among the most dangerous, there's often a hidden depth. It's just covered in a lot of bad attitude and spikes. Because of the turmoil of their own government being stirred by their churning combative drives, it's unlikely that they would ever willingly enter into diplomatic relations with other powers beyond the short-lived and intermittent trade deals. Their only stable operations seem to be those who branch out as mercenaries or, unfortunately, pirates. Maybe the Klingons could conquer them into submission at some point, but the more diplomatic approach from the Federation is unlikely to make much headway. Thanks for watching this video on the Nausicaans, named after a princess of a 1984 anime about two warring nations that were destroying their planet. The next index will probably be on the Hutts, as I've been meaning to do them for a while now, but they always seem to lose in the votes. But nonetheless, feel free to suggest others you would like me to look into and I'll add them to the bucket of choice. Thanks again for watching, I've been Rick, and until next video, goodbye.